G'day YouTube, Warbles on a lot here with the very dag end of the Outsiders plus the first dog on the moon.
To an election campaign, even a state one. So yeah, you're right. It's very strange that the government has been trailing the opposition, I think, virtually since the election. This is a very unusual situation, and they'd certainly like to reverse that. And maybe this budget will do it for them, or maybe perceptions of the Prime Minister and the government are just set rock hard, concrete. Nothing's going to change them. That's also the option, in which case none of this really matters in terms of the outcome of the next election.
Time will tell. Look, thanks to our Easter Sunday Outsiders this morning. They've been Elle Hardy, freelance journalist, Bernard Keane, politics editor for Crikey, and Derek Parker, he's a Melbourne-based freelance writer. A happy Easter to you all.
Patriots. Welcome to First Up on the Moon's Guide to Modern Living. I'm Walkley Award-winning cartoonist for the Guardian Australia, First Dog on the Moon. This week, we're in the wilds of Tasmania, investigating the habitat of the swift parrot, Lathamus discolor. There's one we prepared earlier. What a fabulous and sensible bird. It spends winter on the mainland, then nips down to Tassie to breed every spring. So there's none here now in the forest, but that's not the point. We're here because this is where the trouble starts. Firstly, the swift parrot habitat is being destroyed because there are only two types of people in Tasmania, people who hate trees and people who like them. And when the people who hate the trees, which is most of them, are in government, they do whatever they can to chop as many of them down as possible. There's one now. So, of course, all these swift parrot experts, there's one now, have been saying for years that the parrot habitat needs to be protected because there's not much of it left. When it's gone, they'll all die out. The parrots, and probably the experts as well, because they'll be out of jobs and starve to death, the poor little things. And even worse, now Petoris breviceps, the adorable sugar glider, has developed a taste for the swift parrot. The little bastards climb right into the parrot nest and eat them. And accordingly, the swift parrot population is collapsing. They'll all be gone in 15 years. And of course, the Tasmanian government, who've been advised by their own public servants and numerous scientists to stop chopping down the trees, are specifically ignoring that advice and doing everything they can to ensure that they chop down as many trees as possible, as much of the swift parrot habitat as they can. And that's because they're simply complete bastards. What proud Australians. If only there was someone who could help us. But look, up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a drone, no, it's Threatened Species Commissioner Man. Greetings, everyone. I'm Threatened Species Commissioner Man. Never fear, little swift parrots. I'm here to ensure that I work collaboratively with the National Threatened Species Scientific Committee and the community, including the non-profit sector, industry scientists at all levels of government, to broker solutions that avoid the extinction of Australia's native species. That's right off my website. I don't actually have any capacity to tell anyone to do anything or make them stop chopping down trees and stuff, but I can tell you right now, no photo opportunity is safe when I am around. I just whip out my coal-powered selfie stick and I take a few snaps and then put them on the internet. And that way it will look like I'm doing something. When Environment Minister Greg Hunt appointed me to this role and gave me these excellent green lycra superhero tights of biodiversity and this rather attractive velvet cape of being a soulless shill, I swore then that wherever there was a threatened species, wherever someone was endangering a particular habitat or ecosystem, if flora, or dare I say it, fauna, was nervous, I would be there to take a practical evidence-based approach and ensure that conservation efforts and investment were better targeted, more coordinated and more effective. which is another way of saying I might as well slam my dick in a gate for all the good I will do Australia's threatened species. Oh! And that's why I'm going to take a couple of quick snaps, stick them on Twitter, and then get out of the way so the Tassie government can chop all these trees down. And when the dust is settled, Tony Abbott and Greg Hunt will go down in history as the men who killed all the swift parrots. Killed all the swift parrots! But I'm sure that won't be the only thing that they are famous for. It's going to be a very, 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 very long list. You're welcome. Anyway, up and away. See if you can get this on Instagram. Bye, threatened species commissioner man. Bye. Thank goodness he's gone. And at least, if there are no swift parrots, this perfectly good countryside won't be ruined with all that terrible squeaking. Anyway, thanks for listening, Patriots. This has been First Dog on the Moon's Guide to Modern Living from the First Dog on the Moon Institute. You're welcome.
Thanks, dog.
Well, yeah, there you go. Tony Abbott's new drive for popularity has caused him to back down on just about everything that he said he was going to do. And he doesn't apparently have the intestinal fortitude to go to the electorate and suggest that they vote on the concept of expanding the GST. Personally, I think expanding the GST would probably be a good thing to do because it was originally designed to catch people who were circulating money in the underground economy or the black market, call it what you will. The theory was that there are people out there who are working and doing deals and operating and trading for cash. And they don't ever have a declared income, but they buy stuff. They buy a lot of stuff because they've got a lot of cash. And they don't want to be caught hanging on to the lot of hot cash that they've got, so they spend it. And if you can just take a slice of 10% of every transaction, then the Treasury's got some money to make up for the fact that a lot of people in the black economy or the underground economy don't pay any income tax because they don't declare any income. There are several ways that some of them quasi-legitimise their cash flow. One of the oldest ones in the book is to go and visit a bookmaker and say to the bookmaker, I've got, a troubling $100,000. If I give you $25,000, can you give me a receipt for winning $75,000? And the bookmaker's happy to give such a receipt. Slightly more complicated version is to visit your nearest capital city and attend the casino that you'll find therein. Take your troublesome cash money, purchase gambling chips, walk around drinking something non-alcoholic, put a few coins through the poker machine, and after a suitable, interesting time observing the sheeples, go back to the front counter and turn your gambling chips back into cash money and get a receipt from them. Then go home and either which way declare your income. You had a good day gambling and you've now got a legitimate excuse for owning the money. Don't know how the bookmakers felt about the gambling casinos coming in and taking a cut on it. And of course, the gambling casinos, they're betting that not many people can walk around with a pocket full of chips without actually doing some betting. And when they bet, they lose and the casino wins. So to deal with all of these sort of clever individuals, goods and services tax, or value-added tax, as they call it in the Great British Isles, was invented. And I don't think it's a necessarily good idea to expand the GST to cover education costs, because although it'd be nice to see people pay tax on the school fees that they shell out to send their kids to expensive private high schools, I don't really think I want to see the local Josephite convent primary school being hammered by a GST on top of all of their school fees for the people who still in this day and age feel that they can get their kids a better infant and primary school education in a religious milieu. There's pros and cons on that one. Personally, I'm delighted to live in a town where there's an actual Josephite nun who still wears a habit occasionally in the main street who's teaching at the local school. It gives a better oldie-worldy look to the town and feel to the town than any amount of paint jobs and heritage colours cooked up by the Chamber of Commerce. But anyway, the big thing that's been happening around here, in my noticing, is the way the local paper reported the recent state election. Now, in the election, the big shock was how badly the National Party did, in the sense that they lost 2 safe National Party blue ribbon seats to the tune of Ballina and Lismore. That was over coal seam gases. In the city, the Greens took 2 Labor blue ribbon inner city seats. That was also about the fracking of the gases. Here in New England, the way the newspaper reported it, this is a new feature for the Sunday morning. Marshall first past the post. And they have Adam Marshall crowing on the front page about how his majority went up slightly. Continued on page 3 with more about how Marshall secured his seat. And there was a little bit of mutual back-patting by Adam Marshall and the Labor Party candidate from Armidale on what a good, friendly, fair campaign they had conducted. The big pictorial was the Glen Innes pig races happening at the New England Club, raising money for something, I guess. It wasn't until Thursday's paper, in the letters column, where Mercurius Goldstein had his name appear inside the paper over a letter of his. And I found that kind of curious, because whereas young Adam Marshall got a 3% swing towards him, and he probably got 50 or 60% of the vote, it was his second election. He originally went in there to replace Richard of the Torbay, corrupt figurehead politician being paid for by Eddie O'Beid, the Labor Party politician who went down for corruption. But anyway, Adam Marshall got a 3% swing towards him. Mercurius Goldstein, the Greens candidate on his first election, he tripled the Greens' vote in New England, and he also tripled it in Glen Innes. So he went from like 3.12% to 10% in Glen Innes. And in the electorate, I think it was from 1,000 to 3,500 or something. Not sure on the actual numbers, but my information is that Mercurius Goldstein tripled the Green Party vote. Whether it was just in Glen Innes or whether it was in the electorate overall, I stand to be instructed on. But yeah, and no coverage of it in the Glen Innes Examiner, because the Glen Innes Examiner is apparently editorially of the view that there is only 2 horses in the race, and it doesn't matter if the Greens are increasing their vote, winning seats, tripling their vote in the local election, because the Examiner only likes covering what the National Party wants to read. Whether that's a political decision, an editorial decision, a commercial decision, we don't want to upset the advertisers. Most people vote National, so therefore we're not going to make them think about anything other than what the National Party wants them to think about. But I got to tell you, it irritates me that we can't even get fair coverage of the state election in the local paper. Somebody triples their vote, gets nowhere. Somebody who increases their vote by 3%, and he's on the front page. Warbles on a lot to YouTube. We've been having rain. Rather a lot of rain. But it's been gentle rain, although 3 inches in the last 2 days, 117 millimetres, 4.68 inches for a week. And whereas east of the ranges, from pretty much the Queensland border down to Sydney, they've been getting hammered and flooded, it's just been gentle, pleasant, friendly rain up here for us. So, I don't know what Lismore and Ballina got in the way of rainfall, but I think places that voted Green and increased the Green vote got treated rather well. Ciao.